Well, it doesn't take a counselor either to know when a child is being denied access to their parents and so forth. And I think one of the things that is most frustrating with the court system is that, again, everybody plays everybody off of everybody. For example, in our own personal case, we had a court-appointed family counselor who recognized what we were dealing with as parental alienation back in December '07. And it took her until September '08 to put forth her recommendation for a full-scale custody access assessment. And every meeting, every time that we spoke with her, whether it was through telephone or face-to-face or via email, when I would question her on putting forth her recommendation, she would say she was waiting to hear what the Office of the Children's Lawyers, what they would come up with. When I would question the Office of the Children's Lawyers, when are you going to put forth your recommendation? Obviously, all of you people have recognized what we're dealing with as parental alienation. Unfortunately, they've all opted out of the responsibility to label it for what it was, even though we've had a court order for a complete full-scale custody assessment back in 2007. We had then the court-appointed family counselor recognize it in December of '07, and then the court-ordered family counselor recommending a full-scale assessment in 2008. We've been back to court several times trying to get the judge to enforce the order, and basically we're being told by all these people, Children's Aid Society, the Ombudsman of Ontario, regardless, all of these people have sent us back to family court. Then we finally go back to family court, and family court tells us that this isn't a matter for family court. This is a parenting issue. And when my partner said during one of the last visits in court to the judge, my children are entitled to a loving, unhindered relationship with both of their parents, she interrupted him and said, no, they are not. What they are entitled to is whatever you and Mom agreed to during the settlement conference. And that just blew me away, because basically what they're saying is, you know what, like, we don't really care what's happening with your children. They're entitled to whatever you and Mom agreed to. And basically, bottom line is, just like Brownstone is saying, the parents ultimately are responsible for their children's emotional well-being. But the problem is the way the system is set up. If one of those parents isn't emotionally stable or emotionally well enough to co-parent, then it's our children that suffer because of the way that the system is set up. At any point, Dave, we have a few more minutes now before we get to the very last question. Can you just give us a quick update on your own personal situation right now?
Wow. Well, here's, you know what, here's the thing, Paulette, and this is what I was saying earlier about the Canada that we live in, okay, and the Canada that most Canadians think they live in, okay? Our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms states that we have the freedom of free speech, thought, opinion, and everything like that, right? Unfortunately, I can't tell you anything about what I went through in the family courts because there's a gag order placed on me. So to tell you about my personal situation, I actually can't because of this gag order, you know. And I mean, according to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, I'm supposed to have freedom of speech, expression, thought, opinion, but, you know, basically the courts can put you through whatever they want to put you through and then say, oh, yeah, and by the way, yeah, we treated you like crap, and you can't tell anybody about how we treated you. And they always, the way they get away with it is they know that they got the fear of taking your child away from you again.
That's a pretty sad case, isn't it? But just real quick, how is your son doing?
My son is great. I am so proud to be his father. Every report card he gets, he just got a report card recently, and just the other day he brought it home, and his grades are always improving. He's an amazing child. I'm like I said, I'm so proud to be his father.
That's wonderful. Well, Dave, we have time for one final question. If you could give our listeners that are currently going through the divorce or separation process and have young children, if you could give them just one piece of advice, what would it be?
For someone going through the divorce, I think the best piece of advice that I could give them is just focus on your children, you know. Stop using your children as weapons to try to destroy the other parent. Regardless of how you feel about the other parent, put the love of your children first. For God's sakes, children are entitled to an equal relationship with both their parents. Stop using a system to try to destroy the other parent and try to control the other parent. And one more quick thing, Paulette. I'd like to give advice to any young couple out there who's just thinking about getting married. My advice would be, with the current family justice system that we have in Canada, my advice to anybody thinking about getting married right now is put together a prenuptial agreement, and not even so much for finances and everything like that, but a prenuptial agreement for future children of the marriage. Put a prenup together stating that you're going to work out a shared parenting, an equal shared parenting arrangement in the best interest of your children. Do it now while you still like one another, because the person that you marry and the person that you divorce are two completely different people.
You're absolutely right there. Unfortunately, Dave, we are all out of time, so we're going to have to wrap it up for tonight. But I'd like to thank all of our listeners for tuning into the Single Parent Show, our technical producer, Tom Nassab, and of course, special thanks to you, Dave, for taking time out of your hectic schedule to join us tonight.
Thanks for having me again, Paulette.
And you're all invited to tune into next week's show with my special guest, Robert Franklin, who is a longtime attorney and supporter of family court reform. Robert has written extensively on fathers' rights and equally shared parenting. He's on the board of directors of Fathers and Families, the foremost organization in the United States promoting fathers' rights and family court reform. Until next time, I'm Paulette McDonald for the Single Parent Show on CFAO 94.7 FM.